Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. And for what I think is probably a first for my channel, we have someone on the panel who is actually an expert in the topic posted.
Expert. I'm still a little questioning whether I should be called an expert.
No, you are definitely very knowledgeable in the topic. I don't consider, having formal education to be a requirement for being an expert. In fact, I will go back to something that Leo Buscaglia said. Some of the stupidest people in the world have PhDs.
Well, according to the Master Gardener, who I usually hang out on his streams, so says, is he actually be smarter than a Master Gardener, or just by doing it. Also, it can be very regional too. So, you could take a master class in one area of the world, move to another area, and be a complete novice.
Well, I can certainly see that. Yet, yeah, if you go to a different climate or someplace that's got a totally different soil content, you'd have to learn a lot of things again.
Yeah, that's one of the keys too, is the soil. A lot of people think about growing the plants themselves, but what you really want to focus on is the soil itself. That's where you're actually gardening.
Yep. Yeah, soil enrichment and making sure you have the appropriate water level, that the soil has enough drainage not to drown the plants and still will retain water until the next time it rains.
Well, has more to do with actually the soil life, because that's what's producing all your not minerals, but your all the nutrients for your plants.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the actual organic matter for your soils, actually it's fairly low for what you need. You really only need about 5% of the soil to be organic matter. The rest of it would be yes.
Go ahead.
Well, the rest of it you'd have 45% minerals, 25% air, 25% water, and then the 5% organic matter and soil life. And you also have to keep an eye on the pH levels of the soil as well. Oh, we lost poor.
Yep, but I see we have Jinzu and Godless Scummer joining us in the side chat. They'll have to back up to catch the good jokes that they missed for being late. Now, the problem is I actually started on time for once. That's going to throw everyone.
How dare you?
I found in my garden, which is about a 10 by 10, I don't have much room, about a 10 by 10 plot, that one average size body about every 6 years is plenty of organic material.
Yeah. And 10 by 10, you can actually do quite a lot with.
I was amazed at, what my father produced in a garden that was just, a standard suburban lot. And I don't know, he probably had something like about 8 foot by 30 feet. It was a smaller footprint than the garage.
Yeah, for size, a lot of, you ever see how the packages say plant 6 inches or whatnot. That's actually 6 inches from center. So when you're actually planting the plant, that's 3 inches is to one side of the plant, 3 inches to the other side. So when it says 6 inches, you'd actually be planting the plants 3 inches apart. And you don't have to really worry about the row spaces either, because you can plant. So you have basically 2 axes there. So you have next to each other, and then you can plant between those two plants to maximize your space in sort of a V shape.
Apparently, Athena, who was trying to play with my hand behind me, says her favorite vegetable is meow mix kibble.
I'm not sure where you get the seeds for that.
To be fair, meow mix is probably more grain than meat, so we're pretty close to vegetables.
Yeah. Probably rice, wheat.
I don't know specifically for that brand, but yeah.
Well, since I mentioned in wheat, I was just watching a video on core gardening, which is a pretty good way of conserving in water if you're in an arid area or if you're in water restrictions. Basically, all you do is you dig about an 8-inch deep trench, inch down the center of your garden plot. You fill it with, like straw, or you can grind up leaves or whatnot. Usually, it's best with straw, aged straw. You compact it down it'll give you better water retention. Then you just cover it over, and you can plant right on top of it.
You're basically describing hugelkultur.
It's a little bit different than hugelkultur. Hugelkultur, you'd be piling stuff up underneath of it. It's similar though. It has some similar benefits. This is more surface level. It's closer to composting in place.
I forgot to take the pan for dinner off the stove, but I'll get that later.
Okay, so anything behind the myth about putting a fish in the seed hole to grow corn?
That's actually fairly accurate. Of course, you'd want to break it down. But
Well,
yeah,
that's what I was wondering about, if just dropping a whole fish was going to do it, or if it seemed to me it would be much better if you're chopping it up at least.
well,
Fish break down very rapidly compared to any other land animal.
You'd usually want to chop up anything like that to help. It'll break down faster if you chop it up, obviously, because you're getting more surface area for the bacteria to work with. And of course, keeping it moist is helpful for for breaking down anything like in compost, because that's basically the medium which the bacteria are moving around in. And in fact, I've been working on making some fish emulsion in my backyard in 5-gallon buckets. You basically just take your fish, stick it in a bucket, maybe about 25% of the bucket with fish. Fill it up with water, add a sugar source. Like usually you usually use molasses. I used actually syrup, just pancake syrup, and you just close the bucket up. It's probably a good idea you can put a hole in the top of the bucket, hit with a tube into a jar of water to help release some of the gases, or you can just keep pressing on opening up the top and pressing it down to get the gases out. That'll work fine too, but a little bit more work. And you just let it sit. And once it's ready, you use maybe about a cup of it per gallon of water to dilute it, and you got yourself a nice fish emulsion or fish fertilizer.
And it smells really good.
Yeah, the smell will dissipate over time, and adding things like the sugar will help get rid of the smell as well.
Because I'm asexual and it is Pride Month, I'm required to agree with that statement, I think.
No. Okay, I put this up because I have to straighten this out. Cake is not a vegetable. Carrot cake is a ploy by mothers to get their kids to eat a vegetable by disguising it as dessert.
It's all a big conspiracy.
But I'm not the only one who doesn't like carrot cake.
Maybe. I like carrot cake.
I like lima bean Brussels sprouts cake.
However, Sloth Girl is correct. Chocolate, you're eating the seed pods, so that is a vegetable.
What isn't a vegetable is tomato.
Well, okay, technically chocolate then is also a fruit because it is the seed-bearing pod.
That depends.
What do you mean it depends? That's the only way chocolate grows.
Well, it depends on how the seed is. It's not everything that's the seed pod is a fruit.
I thought that was the definition of a fruit. At least to botanists, I thought it was that the fruit was the part of the plant that bore the seeds and would fall off on its own. Whereas a vegetable was part of the plant that you would actually have to cut it or break it off, so you are in some way damaging the plant taking it.
It is, but for example, strawberries, which is a seed-eating part of the plant, is technically you would not technically fall under the definition of fruit
I'm going to give
because
an
the
answer.
seeds are on the outside.
I'm going to give an answer from my favorite science. Fruit is technically an enumerated type. It's not a primitive data type like float, integer, boolean. And some jokes just sound funny in my head.
Though the reason why tomatoes got classified as vegetables because of shipping costs. It actually costs more to ship fruit than to ship vegetables. So to save on the cost, they label it as a vegetable.
Okay, I didn't know that bit.
And since we're on carrots, that's one of the things you can actually use as a kitchen scrap. Though you're not going to get the carrot back. You're just going to get more leafy green, and maybe some flowering on the top. Which can be still useful in a garden. I mean, you might be able to get some seeds out of that, and the flowers are attractive to pollinators. And you can actually eat the greens of a carrot too. You have to prepare them right, though.
I've never tried eating carrot greens.
Yeah, they can be bitter. You want to blanch them, and after I blanch them, I usually like to throw in a little bit of garlic and some oil on there, and just kind of saute them on a frying pan real quick for a few minutes.
I have eaten dandelion greens, which, just raw are good in a salad, but if you steam them, it tastes exactly like spinach.
There are a lot of plants that taste like spinach.
Yeah, the thing with the dandelion greens is that you've got to get them before the buds open, because once the flower starts to open, then that sucks all the sugar out of the leaves and they taste bitter.
Yeah, you get the similar issue with sunflowers. If you get the buds before they open, you can cook them up and they kind of have an almost artichoke like flavor to them.
Crap.
Fiddleheads.
Okay, I've got to take off my headset for a moment. I just knocked my plate off the table into my chair.
Oh, lovely.
So I will be listening, but you guys have to behave yourselves for a bit.
Okay, we heard her. We can go wild.
So let's ask the important question about that headset, because I always feel like I'm letting people down when I don't do this. Does she have the regulation cat earphones that all trans streamers are required to have?
Purple?
No, my headset does not have ears.
No, actually, I have the exact same headset as Purple. She will help me find the good one.
And I don't know why that trend is there anyway. I just think it's kind of odd, but also I feel like I should be wearing a hat.
Okay, and mine do not have ears because just because I'm on YouTube does not automatically mean I'm an anime fan. Okay?
If anything, your headset should have horns or a frill.
Oh, you haven't seen my mask, have you?
I have seen your mask.
Okay.
Sloth Girl, you don't need it. Well, I don't know how good you want, but usually the Logitech USB headset is good enough for most purposes.
Yeah, Sloth Girl was waiting because somebody was supposed to send her a headset and has never gotten around to it, so she has not gone and bought one because somebody promised to send her one and she hasn't gotten it. So we have to take care of that.
All right, so I have to admit I am not a huge vegetable fan. And I think, and sadly, potatoes are no longer classified as a vegetable.
What
I
are they?
haven't heard about
Are
that.
they now or what?
Was it because it's a tuber?
I think it's classified as a grain
Grain.
Grain. Grains are from grass.
or a carbohydrate, something like that. I don't understand the new food, whatever the new food thing is. Used to be the 4 basic food groups. Now it's the food
Oh,
pyramid.
the food pyramid has nothing to do with plant classifications.
Well, no, but nutritionally speaking, potatoes are a starch more than a vegetable. So they tend to get lumped in with the greens.
It's not what
Looking
you
this
get
one
out of
up.
it's not what you get out of the plant that justifies whether or not it's a fruit or vegetable either.
Okay, I see here. The potatoes are botanically classified as a vegetable, but they are classified nutritionally as a starchy food.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I see
Yep.
where they're going from.
Yeah, same
now.
as corn. Corn and potatoes should be, nutritionally classified with greens.
Corn
That's
is
delicious.
corn is just another form of grass.
Yes, but
Yeah,
because they
that's true.
sell it canned and frozen, people have started thinking corn was a vegetable.
Fair.
Well, that's true. You can't buy Kentucky Blue all frozen and dehydrated and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of which, squash would technically be a fruit.
Actually, it's a berry.
Yeah,
Yep, cucumbers
what
are berries.
What exactly is the definition of a berry?
the seeds on the inside of the with the stuff on the
Yeah.
outside.
Yep. Strawberries are not berries.
Yep.
Well, what's the distinction then between a berry and just a general fruit?
All berries are fruits, but not all fruits are berries.
So
Okay.
what?
Well, how do you define a fruit? Because
I
I
think I
thought
may
a
have gotten
fruit
this
was
wrong
just
earlier.
a part of the plant that had the seeds.
The sweet and fleshy product of a tree or other plant that contains the seeds. Okay, yeah, that contains
So
the
it'd
seeds
be-
and can be eaten as food.
Yeah, it'd also be the pulpy part. So if it doesn't have that, then it's not a fruit.
Okay, yeah. And the further distinction from fruit is, berries are the ones are fruits with the seeds on the inside, versus I don't know what the actual other classification is with them on the outside.
Listen,
Yeah,
all of this
I thought berries
really
were supposed to be the ones with their seeds on the outside.
Nope, inside.
all of this is really just a discussion of plant sex.
Yeah, basically.
Kinky.
Well, actually, since we're eating the fruit and not letting them grow, it's technically plant abortions.
Delicious.
And cobs of corn can be used for lots of different things. If we're talking about sex.
Yeah,
That's
well,
not even the only
very
thing
seedy
that's wrong with that
argument.
statement, but
And pollen is basically just plant splooge.
That's right.
And I'm allergic to it.
That's what you get for inhaling too much sperm.
It's what I get.
all right, Athena has stopped attacking my hands now.
For now.
She probably needs some playtime. I'll have to give her some more today. I was away for most of the day. I went to Indianapolis, so
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on whether or not I should get a second cat just so he's got somebody to play with, because I don't always play with him enough.
Yeah, they're having an event here, a music festival here called Wolfstock. That's being to benefit the local like ASPCA and things like that, and they're gonna get a bunch of kittens and puppies out there to get adoptions and a bunch of donations, and it's gonna be a fun thing.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would never buy an animal. I definitely would just go to the local shelter, adopt one that's lost their home for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Sammy's son, the pal I've got now. I found him at the shelter in Michigan. And basically just his previous human got too old to take care of him, and the family couldn't be bothered to do it.
Oh,
So
did I ever tell you how I got my two kitties? I was out quail hunting one day, and we were out in the middle of this field, and there's nothing but this random like fence posts, and on this fence post out there, you know, we had the dog with us and everything, and on this fence post was these two tiny kittens. You know, like one was just all white with like, you know, little orange nose and little tip at the, you know, little flame point, and one was, you know, an orange tabby. And like I immediately, you know, I put my gun down. I go. They're just trying not to get eaten from the coyotes the night before, you know. And I go and pick them up, and my day of hunting's over. And the type of gun I was carrying was a Sig Sauer, so I named one Sig, one Sauer, and they became my little boys. They were great kittens.
Today's National Fresh Veggie Day.
Mm.
So, does Chef Boyardee count as a vegetable?
No,
Yes,
that counts as
it
a
does.
food-like substance.
As long as you freeze it on a stick and then eat it that way, it is a vegetable.
Hey, no making fun of my hometown's most famous resident.
And yes, potatoes are perennials in the nightshade family. And so eventually tomatoes are also in the nightshade family. And a perennial is basically defined as a plant that can live for 2 or more years.
This is an annual.
Yeah, which is annual, lives for, you know, certain season.
So
less than that.
my maple tree here is a perennial, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Then why did they get upset at the park when I tried to plant a maple tree in their perennial beds?
Probably because it takes up too much room.
No, it's just a skinny little thing, you know, not even the size of my finger.
I actually, when I was living in New York, you know, the plant beds around the house I was renting had been severely neglected for years. So was taking out, you know, things that didn't belong there, and I was actually very careful, and I pulled up about a dozen maple tree seedlings that were like a foot to 2 feet tall, and I was actually, you know, giving them away to people.
Oh, nice. Rather than just canning them.
Yeah, well,
works.
you know, they looked like they'd been growing probably for about 2 years by that point.
Like what kind? There's several different types of maple, right? Or
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Many.
yeah, it's
many
a family
types of
there.
maple.
Yeah.
I think Japanese maples are just gorgeous. I put one right in my front yard when I owned a house, and it just grew into this beautiful, very much a lateral horizontal kind of plant, and its big arms just over everything. It was so pretty. With the red leaves.
In fact, I actually saw this video on how to graft a tomato to a potato.
interesting.
Really?
I'm not sure if it actually works or not. I mean, it's just a video. I haven't tested it myself yet.
I do
so
find the grafting stuff fascinating, and I saw a thing, you know, quite a few years ago now, that somebody had grafted a tree together, so from a single tree, it was producing more than a dozen different fruits.
Yeah,
you can do that.
I've seen that before in books and stuff.
We had a cherry
usually,
tree that had 5 different types when I was growing up.
Yeah, you'll usually see that with cherry trees, and citrus trees are pretty common to do that with.
I saw a little picture, and I think it was encyclopedia, to be honest. A guy who grew a couple of saplings near each other, like within a foot or so of each other, and then grafted rungs of a ladder.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Rungs of a ladder between the two trees, and it actually grew into a living ladder. Would be kind of
That's
cool.
neat.
Yeah.
That's a pretty neat trick.
So is this becoming an unofficial kitten stream now, or?
Well, I
It's
have
always a kitty stream.
I have an interesting story about potatoes. If anyone's if you're interested,
Like
Tell
a
us.
couch potato.
I think it's interesting.
Okay, I'm
Maybe-
always up for potato stories. It seems to be very good for my audience. The record for staying on the topic was National Potato Day, that we spent 40 minutes talking about different ways to cook potatoes. And
Well,
of
I've been
course,
looking-
who will ever forget Stool's epic 9-hour potato stream?
Well, this is a potato story from a concentration camp back during World War II, and it involved lice. And in order for people to have, like, let me start it again. The people at this concentration camp were given potatoes, raw potatoes, but if they ate them, they would die because of the toxins that are in potatoes. If you eat raw potatoes and you are undernourished and have all these things that people have in concentration camps, you'll die if you eat these potatoes. And people were dying because of that. So they came up with a plan to get lice in order to cook the potatoes so they could eat them and not suffer deaths from the potatoes. So in order to convince the people in the concentration camp that they needed to take care of the lice, they would infest the barracks with lice, and then they would take the potatoes and stick them in the packages, because they would take their clothing and all the items from the barracks and steam them to get rid of the lice. So they would take the potatoes and stick them in the packages, and then they would get the packages back all steamed and cleaned, no more lice, but they would have potatoes that they could eat. So the lice was like getting lice was like a prized thing.
Wow.
So
Huh.
that's a potato story.
That is an interesting potato story.
You know,
And-
you do what you have to survive.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I thought it,
Don't eat green potatoes.
Not
No,
good for you.
No.
and I thought you were about to tell us about the time you went into Mordor and Gollum was complaining about the stew you were making because you were brewing it by putting potatoes in it.
I was looking at maybe doing a slow cook for potatoes in my slow cooker or crock pot. Basically, just create like a bowl with tin foil, chop up the potatoes into chunks, add in your seasoning and some oil, and slow cook it.
Here's a better idea. If you have some leftover ham from like Easter or something, and some green beans, just slice up some potatoes, add some water, little salt, put the ham, green beans, and potatoes all in a crock pot, and just let them slow cook for a day.
If you have ham that's been in your fridge since Easter, I would not recommend eating it.
Yeah. Unless it's been in the freezer. Might not taste that great after being in there so long, but it should still be edible.
Well, the air fryers, and I have an air fryer here where I live, and I'm telling you, potatoes like cut up for like chips, or like, what do they call that? Fries. Excellent in the air fryer. Just saying, and with almost no oil at all. It's just like phenomenal.
Yeah, I had gotten myself a dehydrator to dry out and make chips and stuff like that.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done
When
that.
I
with-
was a teenager, I built a
Mm.
dehydrator. I made fruit roll-ups and beef jerky.
In fact, I've been thinking about actually using it to dehydrate some of the wood sorrel that's growing wild in my backyard.
Oh.
The thing about the wood sorrel is by volume it has 10 times the amount of oxalic acid it is spinach, which is the stuff that tends to cause kidney stones. but it has a nice lemon flavor to it, so it makes a good tea. So I've been trying to figure out how to lower the oxalic acid level without blanching it, so I can make this tea, a little bit safer.
So you're
And-
trying to lower. What are you trying to lower?
The oxalic acid in the wood sorrel.
Well, I heard that sugar is a good way to lower the acid in some substances. So maybe adding a bit of sugar might help. I'm not sure.
I'll look into that. But what I found in researching it was they actually tested this on 2 different other plants that were high in oxalic acid, and they found air drying them can reduce the amount by like 60%. So I might use my air dryer and dry them out before I make a tea.
Well, maybe try like a honey like topical, which will add the glucose, which comes with honey, then might lower the acidity levels. I'm just thinking chemistry, you know what I mean?
I'd say baking soda, soaking it in baking soda and water would, as baking soda and water be the base.
I
you
would
know,
think
it would neutralize the acylic acid.
I would
Well,
think
there
the
you go. Yeah.
soda would give it a horrible taste.
Sodium hydroxide would also work, but probably be lethal.
Yeah, that
I don't
Yeah,
think
but
of it now.
wouldn't be much left of the.
Yeah,
tea
you
either.
want to reduce the amount, but you don't want to reduce it entirely, right? That's the whole thing.
The thing about the stuff is it'll bind to calcium in your kidneys. That's where you get the kidney stones from it.
Kidney stones. I've had one
yeah.
of those.
It says
Also-
here also to neutralize acylic acid, you can just soak it by rinsing it in water. Rinsing it in water and letting it dry.
Yes,
a few
but-
times. Yeah.
But the thing is, I want to make a tea out of it, so blanching it is not really good for that.
Yeah, well, you might be able to use colder water or cool water. It doesn't necessarily have to be the hot water.
Well-
It would be obviously a lot more effective, but
I learned from an Italian woman, and she used to make a lot of sauces, like Italian tomato sauces. And she explained to me that putting sugar lowers the acidity of the sauce. And I was like, well, okay. I tried it, and it does work. So I was just why I suggested it. That's all.
You mean in spaghetti sauce?
Yeah, spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a well-known almost standard ingredient in spaghetti.
Yeah, but I don't think that explains why some Chef Boyardee products are like drinking soda.
right.
Yeah.
But that's done because they're trying to market them to kids. So
Well, I'd like to introduce myself to those who don't know who I am. I'm Geo, and my name is Geo Sam. My channel name is Geo Sam. Maybe I should put that on
Yeah,
there.
it's been quite a long time since you've been in one of our chats here.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I know the last time I was here, I wasn't feeling very good, and so things didn't go very well. And hopefully, that doesn't lend to my credibility, but maybe it does. I don't know. I
It's
don't care.
okay. It's been a long time. We'll certainly give you another chance here.
Well, I just want to say I'm a real person. See, right here.
Yeah.
See.
Well, and you have helped me out.
CGI.
You have
That's-
helped me out a lot in other things, especially regarding computer advice. Because
Well-
I am not techie at all. So
Yeah, and I have my own channel. It's a graphics channel, and that's all I do. I don't do hangouts. I just do graphics, and I've done a few live streams, where I just like showed some of what I do and the process involved, and
What do you mean by
that's what I
graphics?
do. Yeah, I do graphics. I make intros. I use 3D graphic programs, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. So, and I give out to the community what's been given to me. So I give it out freely. What's been freely given to me, I give out to the community. So, there's never a loss because I'm always getting things. I'm always getting things from other communities that I can use for graphics, and so I'm giving that out that I get freely from others. I'm giving out to everyone.
Nice.
So
Is there a link to your channel here somewhere?
I don't have a link. I mean, I could just pop a link in there, but if you just type in GeoSam on, it'll probably come up. But
I always put all of the links for everyone in the descriptions.
Oh.
So if you just go to the description of this chat later, you'll find all of his links in there.
Yeah, I've been doing this. My channel's been on YouTube since 2012, so I'm not like old. You know, I'm not new. I mean, I'm not old. I'm not. I'm not new. I'm not new to what's going on. You know what I mean? So I've been around the block, so I know what's going on. You know.
Okay, well, looking up sugar for reducing stuff, it's actually saying that sugars and sodium can actually increase the chance of kidney stones. So it's probably not going to work.
Yeah. When I was in the emergency room with my ex, and she passed a kidney stone the size of a grain of rice, she said that she no longer believed a man could not suffer a pain worse than childbirth.
Jesus.
So I do have another plant growing in my yard that might help, because there's a substance in that plant that helps prevent oxalic acid from binding to calcium. That's goes by the common name of leaf of life or miracle leaf.
Miracle leaf.
Well, if you've ever had a kidney stone.
And there are a lot of different claims about this that particular plant of what it can do. Most of them are either untested or false. The only one that has been tested and shown to actually have some effect is reducing kidney stones.
But you know, we still haven't talked about what's your favorite vegetable, which is a theme for tonight.
Yeah, that was the teaser topic that I posted on Twitter.
Steak.
So let's do it as a round table.
All right, go ahead. Should I start, or everyone else?
Yeah.
Since I'm
well, go
talking?
ahead, Mage. You start.
Well, one of my favorites is katuk. It's a subtropical plant, and the leaves have sort of a peanut flavor. They almost taste like the skin of the peanut, but not quite as bitter. And I'm hearing myself.
Okay, I've never heard of that one before.
The kind of reddish skin that's inside the peanut shell? Or
Yeah.
the peanut shell itself?
Yeah, that skin you find
Oh.
inside the. You can eat when you eat the skin, it kind of has that flavor to it.
Yeah, that might be good, pretty good.
Okay, Jenny, what's yours?
I don't have a favorite vegetable because I like virtually all vegetables. I have a couple that I do not like, but that's it. I love every vegetable. I guess if I think back to what do I buy on a weekly basis and stuff like that, it's going to be Brussels sprouts, lima beans. If I can ever afford it, asparagus, green peas. You know, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been a Brussels sprouts and lima beans fan when everybody else is going, ew.
Okay, porpoise.
Yeah, I don't really like that many. Sorry, I'm a picky eater. Do olives count?
Yeah, olives count.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to go with steak.
Oh wait, is olive a fruit?
Well, it's a vegetable of some kind. I don't know whether or not it's a fruit.
Listen, there's some weird stereotype about trans women, olives, and pickles that has something to do with spironolactone and making you crave salt.
It's
Really?
Now, urban mythologies.
Okay, I have never heard that, but I love olives, and I am chronically craving salt. I have had nights that I really feel I just want to sit here with a 10-pound salt lick.
But I think Jenny said something about urban mythology.
As far as I'm concerned, yes, yeah. Spironolactone is a potassium-sparing
Diuretic.
drug, which means that when you take it, your body will tend to hang on to potassium while it's excreting sodium. And too much potassium, lack of balance between sodium and potassium, is very, very bad for your central nervous system. and too much potassium will kill you by way of a heart failure, basically. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
think people hear about the sodium part of it and start thinking, well, then I have to replace all my sodium, and so they think eating pickles is a good thing for you, and it takes on a life of its own. If you do need salt, there's many ways to do it. If you're going to crave pickles, well, then you crave pickles because you do. It has nothing to do with the drug. It has to do with the salt.
Okay, yes. Olives are a fruit. They're a stone fruit related to mangoes, cherries, peaches, almonds, and pistachios.
So I guess pickles and bananas is that a balance thing?
They're berries.
Eat a pickle, eat a banana.
Well, pickle is just a
Potassium.
cucumber. Hence the name.
Yeah, Jenny, now you've got me concerned. I need to look into that more because I'm on the spirulactone,
Mm-hmm.
and I have also been taking potassium supplements because it's supposed to help with my joint pain.
Yeah, actually, I should increase my potassium levels since I'm
Yeah.
taking these non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, which can
Yeah.
actually sap potassium from my body and actually make inflammation worse.
Well,
Then
I'm going to have to
just go
talk
in
to
for
the doctor about that. If I'm getting too much potassium, is that going to cause problems?
yes,
It
too much
can.
potassium can cause problems. Just go in and get a blood test. Check your potassium level. It's no big deal.
I was going to say, are you on hormone, HRT, or?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
my
I'm on estrogen.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I haven't done the hormones today.
Yeah, you know what? I actually was supposed to do my shot last night, and I haven't done it yet. So I am behind. I have to do my injection before I go to bed.
Well, while everybody's injecting, I'll mention going back to the katuk. It's actually a tree that grows. And one thing you do have to be careful with it is if you're eating a lot of it raw, it can actually lower your blood pressure. And there was actually a time when some idiot was using it as a dietary supplement as a weight loss gimmick, which it doesn't work. But these women were drinking like 3 ounces of the extract of this stuff every day, and after a few months, they actually were starting to have lung problems and problems due to such low blood pressure, and some of them even died.
Yeah, any quick weight loss thing generally will work for a couple of weeks, after which it will either just stop working or it will start killing you.
Yeah, well, this was
Or both.
this was a total scam, but it is a pretty healthy plant. Another one of my favorites from this past year is Ethiopian kale. The thing grew about 3 feet tall in my garden, and it never got bitter during the heat. In fact, it actually, instead of getting bitter when it bolted, it developed more of a mustard flavor. And I still have some stuff in back there now from winter that I can still harvest and get something out of. I'm actually thinking about maybe trying to plant some right now and see how it does with the summer heat.
Just in honor of this discussion, I've decided to wear an Indian estate hat with a leaf on it.
As closest to a vegetable as you're getting.
Okay.
Well, it is a sycamore leaf, so.
Well, you do get maple syrup from maple trees, so
It's a sycamore leaf.
sycamore.
You get sycamore syrup. Oh.
Yeah, it's not a maple leaf.
I like eggplants, although technically a fruit, but also part of the nightshade family.
Listen, nightshade is an awesome plant. Well, technically,
really
it's not a
is.
plant. I mean, it killed Socrates. No, that was hemlock. Is hemlock part of the nightshade family?
I don't know. Good question. To Google. God. I mean, you had to go to an encyclopedia to look something like this up.
I wonder,
Indeed, it is.
Oh, really? Neat.
tomatoes being related to nightshade. I wonder if that has something to do with their chemistry of why so many people are allergic to them.
I only know like 1 or 2 people in my life that are allergic to tomato.
Yeah, no more people are
think
allergic
it's
to
that common.
peanuts. And after the past election cycle, I know more people are allergic to the truth.
Apparently, tomatoes are one of the more common food allergies. About 1.5 to 20% of the pop. Wow, that is quite a range. 1.5
Well-
to 20% of the population. Oh, with
And they
foodborne allergies.
They will find that that range varies a lot with different ethnic groups. That it's something that just, people from certain regions of the world are more likely to be susceptible to it.
Wow, 16% of Italy is allergic to tomatoes.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, that's when tomatoes were first brought back to Italy from the New World. They were called poison apples.
Yeah, they thought they were toxic. That was disproven. I'm not sure if the story is true or not, but apparently it was disproven by somebody sitting there and just eating a bunch of them.
Yeah, but if a couple of people ate them and had anaphylactic shock, I could see why they would think they were poison.
Yeah.
I don't think you get anaphylactic shock with tomato allergies. I think you get hives and different dermatological issues. I don't, don't quote me on that, but that was my
Well,
impression.
I know it can happen with people with peanut allergies, so I just
Yeah,
assume that with other food allergies
Yeah.
it could.
I'm sure.
All right, somebody out there, look that up.
Typical type 1 allergy. Yeah.
Ulcers, dermatitis.
Interesting. Tomato allergies will have a cross reaction to latex as well.
Oh,
But
that's
can
interesting.
But
So
In
it's
fact,
the latex.
Well, since we mentioned latex, don't use latex gloves if you're handling hot peppers. The oil will go through the latex.
as a fan of the old TV show House, I'm going to ask the important question about tomatoes. Can they cause lupus?
It's never lupus.
Except the one time when it was.
By the way, anaphylaxis, very rarely, but it does occur.
Okay.
Oh, and
So it's not a
at,
common thing.
looking up sycamore, apparently the wood it is often used for butchers' blocks, and the Native Americans would make dishes out of them for gathering whortleberries.
Gotta love them berries. Tomatoes equal fruit.
I very much doubt that they made a specific dish for gathering each type of berry or fruit. I think they were probably kind of more generally used.
Unless there's something special about those particular berries that require, or some, I don't know.
That's right. They detonated if they got too close to each other.
Well, it could be that, with certain plants or certain berries, they may have noted that the juice from certain berries, could have a reaction on certain materials.
Makes sense.
That's actually one of the theories on, contributing to why most of the nobles in Europe were insane. Is that similar to lead poisoning, you can get a similar thing from silver. So those who could afford actual silver tea sets, the tannic acid from the tea would leach poisons from the metal into your cup. So basically getting small doses of lead poisoning every day over many years.
I know they thought that's why a lot of the later Roman emperors were crazy, because all their plumbing was lead.
I thought pewter had lead in it, and that was where the source of the leaching.
They even sweetened their wine with the lead.
Sweeten the wine with it, huh? I guess it would be a way to kind of burn off the acid.
I don't think the Romans.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't think the nobles of medieval and later Europe were using the Roman.
I
Using
really like burning off the acid, man. It's really like cool.
weren't using as many of the old Roman plumbing systems. I think a few of the aqueducts are still in use today, though.
And tannic acid is what you use to tan leather.
Yep.
Which is, I believe, why they call it tanning.
That would make sense.
And you also have to, if you're going to eat acorns, you have to get rid of the tannic acids because that can cause stomach cramps.
Who really eats acorns except squirrels?
My chickens like acorns, and though they aren't bothered by the tannins in them.
Native Americans used to make. You use it all the time. They'd boil out and boil them first to get out the acids, and then grind them to make flour and bread.
More commonly, what they would do is they put them in
people's diets.
Yeah, more commonly, what they would do, they put them in a sack and put them in a river, and just let the river leach out the tannins.
Yep. What were you saying, Jyuni?
Just that acorns were a part of people's diets, just like chestnuts used to be.
Hey, one of the reasons why I asked Purple if I could come on here was because Microraptor. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with Microraptor.
Yeah, she's in here sometimes.
Yeah. So she came up with an idea that to have a show based on transgender awareness, but on the male side, and that we want to do that next week, which is what was proposed by Microraptor, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm a cis man, and I really have nothing to say about the topic except from my own limited perspective. But that if anybody if you guys want to come on, that's fine.
Well, Uncle Beck in the side chat on Monday nights always does a section with just a panel of trans men before getting into the just general chat show.
Yeah, just see if you can get student Dr. Ben too.
So I mean, I don't know if you guys want to, if you can, if you see Microraptor, just maybe mention it to her that I mentioned it, and that Delicious Danish wanted to present that to people on the next show next weekend, next Thursday actually. But so if you guys see Microraptor, just let her know. So because we want to try and get a panel together that really knows what's going on. Because I mean, the three of us, Amiga, it's me, Delicious Danish, myself, and Amiga. We're not trans. We're not involved in the trans thing, So we need people who are involved in it.
You want to get somebody who is trans.
I know we have Microraptor. She's wonderful, and that's what we're basing it on. And that was her proposal, and we just like to make a whole show out of it. I mean, we have a small channel. I say we because we're all involved. It's really Linda who is Delicious Danish. It's her channel, and
when you say you want to do a show from the male side, what does that mean?
Okay, all right. It means like trans people. This is what was proposed, that from the male perspective, someone who is male transitioning to female. That perspective.
Okay, so do something on trans women.
Yeah, you want trans women.
That perspective from someone who was. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly.
You're not.
You got guys that got to tell me. You got to
That's why I'm asking the question.
Right. Okay. From someone who is in their mind that they're not what they see. They look in the mirror. It's not what they see. Right. And I get that.
Generally, where all trans people start. Yeah.
So
when you look in the mirror, you're like, you don't see what you feel. Right. So you're. And then you transition, right? And then you become what you see. You see what you really are, right? That's what you want to be.
Well,
We
yes and
need
no, but
to have that perspective. That's what we're trying. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but
All right.
Well, you
I
got
don't
something
think-
right here.
I don't think any of the. I think there are 3 trans women here on the panel would describe gender dysphoria the way you described it, but that's what you're talking about.
is that dysphoria?
Yeah, that's the basic concept.
Well,
That's a physical dysphoria is basically when the image in your mind does not match the image in the mirror.
And also from the language we're using, we thought you wanted to do something on transgender men, which I personally thought would be a great idea, but none of us are transgender men.
I think that is ultimately what was proposed, and I think what I'm proposing is my own spin because I'm a cis man and I didn't quite understand it. You know what I mean?
trans men are people who were a female at birth and became who they are today.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what we want. That's what I think Microraptor was referring to, because she's part of that, you know, and she wants to talk about that. And I was thinking to have people who know what that is to come on the show, but you have to get in contact with either Microraptor or Delicious Danish, because I can't get on the show. I mean, I can say, hey, I said something on the show, and that's all I can do, really. That's why I'm mentioning it, because next week we're hoping to set it up for next week. Hopefully, that's a week
I think
away.
if you're looking for people who were assigned female at birth and are now living as men, that Uncle Beck probably knows more of those than I do.
And the people I know like that would not come on a stream because they're just local and.
Well, you see, now I'm totally confused now, because now I'm not sure what Microraptor wanted the show to be entirely, like what her idea was. I think I need to confer. I mean, get together.
I think we're a little confused if you're looking for trans men or trans women.
Yeah. How was it phrased, by the way? If you can remember.
It was from a man's perspective.
From a man's Yeah, I suppose.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, that's a little vague.
You guys, I don't know what that means.
I think they're looking for trans men because a lot of the very prominent online trans voices tend to be trans women, like ContraPoints.
I mean, I can actually go to the actual post and read it verbatim.
Yeah, Abigail
see what
Thorne.
the proposal was actually, and then just read it verbatim, because
That
it
works.
was pretty simple. It wasn't.
Well, we have some trans
complicated.
men in the chat audience, and you have some trans women here on the panel. Why don't you go look that up and tell us exactly what it says? And then we can maybe help clear it out right here and tonight for you. Get it going.
Yeah.
And she says, "This is what she says. This is the suggestion. I'm reading it verbatim. I don't know if I should do that. I think I should. That's her
Go
words.
ahead. You're not going to offend anybody.
Well,
That's her words.
Well-
I don't think I should read that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's concerned it's more of a privacy thing.
It's a private.
Yeah, I'm
it's a
not going to
privacy.
read her words. I'll just
Oh,
leave
okay.
it at that. You guys have given me some good advice, so I'll just leave it at that. I'll talk to Microraptor, and we'll get together with Linda and everybody on the show, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get, because I want to put out good information. You know, I don't want to, and I don't
Makes
want to make it a biased thing. You know, like I really don't. So I want to.
No, that's good. That's good. You're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any prominent trans women in the atheist community now that I'm thinking about it, or skeptic?
I'm not sure. But you guys know who Microraptor is, right? So
No.
Yeah,
Well,
I do. She's wonderful.
Yep, I just sent Microraptor a little note on Discord to,
Okay. Oh, that's
hear
great.
hear
Thanks.
from her exactly what it is she's looking for.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Purple. That's great. Because we have a whole week to decide, and even if we don't decide to do that show, we can put it on the back burner and still have it for later.
Yeah, you
'Cause
might
I'm-
want to put that one off for a couple of weeks, and then we can find you somebody who can help with it.
We'll see.
Sloth Girl, you are
Oh,
warped.
sloth girl.
Sloth girl. Calculus jokes are so derivative, but dad humor is essential.
I love it.
It's principle to math.
Man.
She's had a couple of good ones in there, but sometimes I don't want to interrupt the stream with them. Sometimes it's just the timing that if it doesn't quite fit the topic somebody's talking about.
Some jokes are just dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Hey, I was hoping to see Will, Godless Sewing. Is he okay? Or is he on a hiatus? Or what's going on? I haven't seen him around lately.
No, he's still, he's still doing other shows. I have asked him not to be on the panel here. I'm not going to go into details, but it's a decision I made.
All right. Sorry if I. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I
don't want to cause public drama, so I'm not going to make everything public.
All right.
You knew somebody's going to ask eventually.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Well, that whole acorn topic came up earlier. I was looking up and I see we can make acorn flour once the tannins are removed, and that's actually an idea I might just try because I have lots of acorns.
I have actually heard of that. And another interesting thing I learned because I tried collecting some acorns myself was, it's the thing in the cartoon that you see a squirrel pick up an acorn and shake it and throw it away and pick up another one and shake it. Squirrels actually do this, and there's a reason for it. Because there is a type of bug who commonly puts their eggs in the acorn, and the larva eats them from the inside out. So the squirrel picks them up and shakes it, and if it's rattling, it knows that the larva has already eaten most of the acorn, and it's an empty shell, so don't bother trying to open it.
You can also do a squirrel call by using a couple of quarters, mimicking the sound of cracking a shell opened. It's a hunter's trick.
Well, what about chestnuts? Can you make is there can you make flour out of chestnuts?
I imagine
if you can make it
out of
acorns,
that were made out of chestnuts back way back when were made with the American chestnut, and those caught a bad disease and pretty much died out all across the nation. And the chestnuts you see now are the English chestnut, and they do not taste the same, and people don't eat them generally. So you're going to have to kind of wait till they repopulate with the American.
So is this why, because of the song "Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire," every year at Christmas people try roasting chestnuts and nobody ever wants to eat them?
Yeah, it's people aren't aware.
But
chestnut trees. Yeah,
but I've eaten chestnuts recently.
That's probably very possible. Somebody must have a recipe somewhere.
But I see them sold in the grocery stores.
Yeah, I just roast them. I poke them with a fork and put them in the oven.
I've had roasted chestnuts before. They're not bad. Good with butter.
Oh.
Yeah, West Virginia.
But I was wondering if you could make flour with chestnuts, because I'd never heard of that.
I don't know, but...
Sure. Yes, they sell it in the stores.
Really? Oh.
You can get some on Amazon. It's just ground dried chestnuts.
I need to get myself a mill to make my own flour.
There you go. It would make it a lot easier.
I wonder if it makes good bread. You need a certain, what is that substance that makes it really stretchy?
Gluten.
You want gluten, or you also want yeast if you want a nice flat, fluffy bread?
I think it's gluten, right?
Yeah.
Probably gluten.
Gluten is what gives bread its stretch.
And the best bread contains potatoes.
I wonder if chestnut has a lot of stretch.
No, chestnut was gluten-free.
I would agree, Porpoise. I think potato bread is much better.
Potato bread.
You only get gluten out of grasses.
Grasses?
Yep. Yeah, that's my cousin has gluten allergies, so she can only eat baked goods if they're made from rice flour.
Ah, I see. Yeah, makes sense.
Another option I was trying to grow is sorghum for flour.
Okay, and there is a joke now that apparently because I told it, it's now my joke, and Sloth Girl doesn't tell it herself anymore. That I went into a gun store and there was a T-Rex behind the counter. He was a small arms dealer.
But bum.
Purple and I apparently live in the sorghum capital of the world. Is western North Wisconsin and areas near the Mississippi.
Oh,
That grows more than anywhere ever. It used to be grown everywhere. It was like one of the primary grains, and now it's not. And so
I wasn't aware it was a big product here.
That's interesting. It seems to grow pretty well here, down in Florida. I mean, my chickens keep snacking on it.
well, it wasn't a question whether or not it would grow. It was a question whether or not people wanted to buy it.
Yeah, whether it was economically viable to produce on a commercial scale.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean,
oh, by the way, if anybody's interested, Golden State won the championship tonight.
Yay! Go California!
The championship for what?
sports ball.
So
I heard Golden State. That's all I got.
They sported the hardest.
I went golfing today. Does that count as a sport?
No, not
Only
really.
if you're rich.
Probably shouldn't.
It was awful.
If NASCAR can count as a sport, golf can.
Sure.
I don't know how anybody can play golf. I tried when I was a kid, and it was just ungodly boring. It's even more boring. Well, it's more boring on TV than actually doing it. But God,
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
supposed to be the thing. It's basically supposed to be an excuse for a relaxing stroll.
I take a bunch of vets out, so it's all, we're all a bunch of salty veterans, so we all just talk shit the whole time, and it's good fun.
Those golf courses waste so much water.
Yeah.
It's the unnecessary interruption of a perfectly good walk.
Hit the ball. We don't even do that. We got the carts.
Well, in Florida,
in the Southwest.
I actually think the carts were a bad idea because a lot of young people actually made business connections going out and doing caddy work.
well, at least in Florida, you can have alligators in the water traps, so that adds some risk to it.
There's a golf course in Australia that has sharks in the water trap. Apparently, there was a time when it flooded, and a couple of bull sharks wound up being stranded in the water trap there when the water receded.
You ain't getting that ball back.
10 years, for 10 years now, they've had a family of bull sharks breeding there.
Yeah, not gonna mess with crocodiles. Not gonna mess with sharks. Keep the ball.
Listen, you said there are alligators in Florida. Are there any on Trump's golf course?
I don't know.
Trump himself.
Okay, now we were saying about the golf courses. Okay, it's a waste of water. It's obviously a waste of huge stretches of land. I think we could at least combine a few things and save some space. That you pretty much have all the same complaints about cemeteries. So, just cemetery on a golf course, it's all the same thing, right?
There you go.
There you go. Just, oh, God. I just put it into grandma again.
My grandmother lived in a home behind a cemetery, and I always visited the home, and it was very creepy. It was.
Anyway, we want to see how big a gator can get on a golf course.
Not really.
I had a friend who lived on whose backyard was on a golf course.
That thing was so big, there was a question of whether it was even real. And yes, that is real.
That is legit, yeah. I think it's ridiculous. They have a name for it, too.
Now, if an alligator ate Donald Trump, would that count as a vegetable for the alligator?
God
Yes.
no, that guy's all grease.
That's a big one. Boy, that was huge.
Yeah, there was a question as to whether that thing was even real when it was first filmed.
Well, you know, there's always some idiot who's going to walk right up to it, right?
What
Yeah.
if they have to sign a waiver before playing? Like, if you get eaten by this stun gun,
In
like,
fact,
we're
I
not
was-
liable.
I was at this park. I was having a picnic there at this park, and there was this. I think they were Mexican. I'm not sure, but they were feeding the gators, and there was a sign clearly saying "Don't feed the gators." And they had the little, I guess maybe 2-year-old standing right there, and I'm just trying to figure out how to communicate with these people. No, don't do that. That kid could get eaten.
That's what happened at Walt Disney several years ago.
Yep.
Is a little kid was in one of the ponds that was labeled "Don't go anywhere near this," and they did, and the kid got pulled in by a gator and eaten.
Man.
Yeah,
Ouch.
we are not the top of the food chain as individuals, only as
No.
a society.
It's
No.
there's the whole bunch of animals you don't fuck with.
Also, a good
Yeah.
rule of thumb is never own an animal that could disagree with your place on the food chain.
Yep. Well,
God.
that is why I will not have a dog that comes up to my waist. I will not have any predatory animal in the house that outweighs me.
Hey, you guys remember that chimpanzee that ripped that woman's face off?
Yeah.
That is incredible, huh? Oh,
Well,
man.
chimpanzees are much stronger than humans.
Chimps are extremely strong. I guess they rate them at like 8 times stronger than a human, something like
Yeah.
that. They're just
Yeah.
massively strong.
And humans have generally lower.
Crazy.
Then most of the humans generally have, what's the word I'm looking for? Less strength than most of the great apes because of a mutation that increased our brain size.
Well, it's more than that. It's the whole evolutionary package that we evolved to be sprinters to chase down prey. So, we lost some of our strength. We lost some of the muscle mass in exchange for the endurance of being able to run longer distances.
Yeah, we're one of the best endurance runners in the planet.
Sure.
Yeah,
Next to dogs.
dogs are great.
No, there's a
Especially
reason.
Especially the ones that are bred for it.
Oh, and they taste great too.
That's why we started breeding wolf. That's why we started.
Yeah,
Tastes
there's-
great, too.
There was only one time I was ever afraid of a dog, and there was this little frail, like old man who looked like he was maybe 90 pounds wet, with this huge dog. I mean, I think it was a mastiff or maybe some crossbreed with a mastiff. And as I was walking by, this thing started barking at me and reared up on its hind legs, and I swear this thing was taller than me on its hind legs. It was just barking and kind of growling at me. And I'm just thinking, okay, if this thing actually wants to come at me, the only thing holding it back is this little old guy.
Mastiffs
Yep.
are for me, they're scary. I don't want to be anywhere near them. And I'm a dog person. I've raised German shepherds and stuff. I
Yeah,
don't want to be in the same property as a mastiff.
A
Yeah,
friend of mine was saying that his grandfather had a mastiff that was like a 300-pound dog.
yeah, that's the only time I've
Jeez.
ever been afraid of a dog.
Yeah, but he said, of course, he had, the signs on the gate, beware of dog. And apparently while he was out one day, Jehovah's Witnesses came around to evangelize.
Evangelize.
And he came back, and the dog was just sitting on this guy. And the guy said he had been there about 4 hours.
That's wonderful.
That's great.
Oh, I have a picture I'd like to share of the dog. One of the dogs we have. I got to find it though. I'll describe it before I show it. Do you think I should just show it?
Yeah.
Not the,
Sloth Girl was telling me this one last night. It's something I never gave any thought to. That primates we're the only primates with chins. We're the only ones that the chin actually protrudes forward.
Some of us.
Chin.
Yeah, I would agree with the forward part because chimps definitely and apes definitely have chins. They just happen to be quite receded.
What about the placement of the heart and the way we walk upright? And I heard that was a thing too. Like we walk upright and our heart is like right here. So it's like we're so vulnerable to like frontal attack, just like a out and out like kill shot, one kill shot, boom, because everything is right here.
Listen, this is all perfectly designed by God, who loves cats. That's so his
you
big
didn't
kitty's going
go
to attack us
there.
more easily.
We have an expert in the chat that could answer that. Neil.
No
I
comment.
mean,
I'm still looking for the photo of what the dog did. It's just amazing. But I got to find the photo first.
I have a copy of the Bible that says the world was created by Sky Cat, Stealing Cat.
Okay.
Wow. I don't know. I have to think about that for a while before I respond.
Yeah, I think that there are countless examples in the human anatomy that disprove any idea of intelligent design. At best, it is incompetent design, but I think it pretty much shows that evolution isn't going for any goals. It isn't really working on anything in particular. It's always just a matter of, yeah, that'll do for now.
Yeah, evolution would be a really bad way of doing an intentional design.
Oh, I got it. I found the photo. Now this dog is a Chow Chow Husky mix. Huge dog. Decides he's gonna turn the pool over and just sit on it instead of go.
Oh, but he ruined his pool. He will be sad. Oh.
Well, I don't know.
I would bet that's not a husky mix, but a what do they call them?
Malamute.
Yeah, Malamute.
Yeah, Malamute, exactly. A Malamute and Chow Chow mix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when we had
Malamutes
a
are
Chow Chow, we
huge.
had to get her own little swimming pool like that.
Thanks for letting me share that. Purple. Funny dog though.
Yep.
It's a he, and he's very frightened. He's
Yep.
frightened of just about everything, and he's so huge.
Well, see, I don't want a huge dog. I don't want a small dog. I actually do favor the sled dogs. They're my favorite groups.
As a kid, I had a Chow Collie mix, or not Chow, a Spitz Collie mix.
Well, we had one that we were told was a purebred Chow. I was skeptical. I think she was probably a Chow Spitz mix.
I have never owned a dog. I'm a cat guy.
That's okay. Some dog, it'll probably be some member of the hound group because they tend to be practical jokers, will decide, you're my human.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, I had a cat like that. The cat just chose me, and
That's usually how you end up with a cat, yeah.
There was just like I couldn't get away. There was just no getting away. I was like, oh well, I guess I have a cat now.
But cats
Yeah.
are what, the only species that's domesticated themselves, and they did it twice.
Yep.
Yeah, the cat just walked in the house and took over.
Well, it's
Many
more
years
like
ago, when Sloth Girl and I did live together, we got a cat because we were moving into this apartment, and it was a third floor walk up. So, we carried up a bunch of boxes and went back down. We brought up the couch, and we went back down for some more boxes. And when we came back up, there was a cat laying on the couch. So it's like, oh, we have a cat now. And he stayed with us for about 4 years in that apartment. I tried to take him with me when I moved, but he ran away, and I heard from neighbors that he was back in the neighborhood, back to living in the same abandoned house down the block. So apparently he wanted to stay there.
Okay.
yeah,
Well-
cats.
he seemed like a cat of means. You know what I mean? Like kind of just goes where he needs to go to get it what he needs to get or she needs to get and just goes with it.
Yeah. I was very sad that he did not want to come and live with me, but also though at the time I had to be living with my sister and she had beagles, and I could kind of understand not wanting to live with the beagles.
Well, you know what was funny? The cat that owned me, I'm saying that because that's the way it seemed. When I needed to move from where I was living, and I was on the East Coast in New York City, and I needed to move across the country to Arizona, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with this cat? Right. So I'm like, I don't know. I just was like biding my time to try and figure out what I'm going to do with this cat. Right. So one day the cat comes to the house with a rodent. Right. And he's offering it to me. It's a she. She's offering it to me, and I'm like, oh, what? Look at this, right? Great, right? So I'm like, okay. So I just took the rodent and I brought it and I put it outside, and she just went immediately outside, took the rodent and went and ate it. I figured she knew I was giving it back to her as a thank you, kind of like me. I don't know. I'm just wondering. But what I didn't realize, the next day I went to work. And I travel on my bicycle and I go around the neighborhood. I see everything in the neighborhood. I look down on the ground and I see signs warning poison. The rat infestation has been detected, and we've put poison in the neighborhood. Little poison signs all over the neighborhood. She had eaten a poison rat or mouse. She had eaten it and died. So I didn't have to I buried her in New York City, and I didn't have to worry about bringing her across the country. She did it herself.
That's so
That's a
sad.
shame.
I was like,
Yeah.
what a cat. What a fucking cat,
Well,
man.
When I moved from New York back to Michigan, I did take 2 kitties with me. I had 3 of them from the feral colony in the park. The third one went missing about 2 months before I moved. I never found out what happened to him.
Neil.
My first cat would actually, we had a rats get into the house, and she'd kill the rat, and then she'd just gently pick up the dead body and put it in her food bowl. She's gonna eat that for later.
One of the cats from New York, and it wasn't even my house at the time. My landlord was still living there. And well, actually, she wasn't my landlord until later either. But you know, I just did some work on the house for her and that, and she was letting me use the garage, you know, to have some shop space. So one of the cats, you know, that we were like feeding him on the deck and that, and you know, kind of getting him used to us. And she even had me put a little cat flap in the garage door so that they could, you know, come in when the winter got too cold. And one of the cats one day left me a headless bat right by the cat flap. So it's like, okay, we've got an agreement here to share the space.
Sometimes it's a gift. Sometimes they're trying to teach you how to hunt.
Yeah. When I fell off a roof and I could barely walk, one of my cats, I guess he got the idea that I wasn't going to be able to feed myself. So he brought me 11 mice in the first 2 days.
Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
You know, and they say that cats don't care about us.
Sometimes they're just murdering machines.
It's all a facade. It's all a facade, right? It's like they're highly emotional. They would never show it, right? But they show it in other ways.
You pay attention to me so I can ignore you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, they're not all like that.
It seems that they are, but I think we can't brush a broad stroke like that on all cats, right?
I think the problem is that most people have no idea how to communicate with cats.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
I, on the other hand, was raised by cats. The larger humans generally ignored me. So I can communicate fine with cats. I don't communicate so well with humans.
That's something else, I must say. Wow, that's great though. And I could see it. I could see it. I mean, it's really because I had an English bulldog, and that dog was like one of the greatest dogs I ever had, and no one even knows about it because I never took pictures. I never really like did anything with the dog to highlight the dog, and it was just part of my life for so long, and then it just went away.
Yeah,
And it's like, and no one. I have one picture of the dog the whole time. I was like, what the fuck? And I look back at my history and I go, what the fuck's wrong? Why didn't I just take a whole roll? Why didn't I take pictures of this animal?
yeah, I don't have very many pictures.
And I feel so bad. But I got the one picture and I made an homage to Ragu, which was her name. I called him, or I thought it was a her when I got her, but I thought it was a him when I got her. It turned out he was a female. And it's complicated. I didn't care. I loved the dog.
Porpoise put this up in the side chat.
That's all I care. But no one knows about that dog except for me.
Yeah, well, I have a couple of my former cats that I talk about a lot, but I don't have few with any pictures of.
Because I was living alone. When I got out of the service, I was living all by myself and stuff. And just had me and the dog. And the dog used to love, he was like so lazy. I thought he was sick. And I brought him to the vet. And I said, listen, this dog is just sitting around. I think he's sick. And they're like, nah, he's just like really lazy. He's fine. Because they did all the tests. I was like, he must be really, and he's not even a he. They're telling me he's not even a, I'm calling him Ragu. I'm like, what? He's not a boy? I must have been like an idiot back then because I didn't even realize my own dog wasn't a boy. I didn't even realize that. Such a boomer, I guess.
You
I don't know.
never noticed like a penis?
No, I didn't even realize.
Well, if the dog was fixed or neutered.
But that was when I first
Well,
got
still,
when
you
I first
could
got
still
her.
notice that
When I
kind of
first
thing.
got her. That was when I first got her. Of course, I had the dog for 12 years. Of course, I know it's a girl. But the dog would sit in I had this stroller, that little stroller you put like a baby in just temporarily and roll them around the park. And then you could just give it back to the people. And it's like a foldable stroller. I had one of those. And one day the dog wanted to go in it. It was in the house. I don't remember where it came from. We had a party and somebody left a stroller in the house, right? I don't know where the stroller came from. And the dog was in it one day. And I was like, what the fuck is the dog doing in the stroller? So I take the dog out of the stroller and fold the stroller up. But the dog would go and sit and lay on top of the folded up stroller. I was like, what the fuck is this dog doing? So then, I just opened the stroller up and the dog would jump and crawl in the stroller and sit in the stroller like this. You go like an English bulldog is sitting in the stroller. I was like, great. Okay, let her sit in the stroller. Then she was so lazy, she didn't want to walk outside. I had to put her in the stroller, bring her outside in the stroller to the sidewalk, and she would jump out, go to the bathroom, jump back in. And then I had to bring her back in the stroller. It was like this weird thing with the stroller. So I'm like, okay, great. Okay, so the dog didn't want to walk around. He wanted to be pushed around in the stroller. So I pushed him.
And the vets didn't find he had any like joint pain or anything?
Dried paint?
Joint pain. Like bad knees?
Oh, me? No, the dog.
No, the dog.
No, the dog was perfectly healthy. That's what the doctors said. Even after like many years, the dog was perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with the animal. I mean, there was a few things, but there was nothing.
The neighbors loved seeing you push the dog out.
Yeah, I was just pushing the dog. And then listen, it was so funny. The dog would sit in the chair all the time, would sit in the stroller. That was its place. It would sleep in the stroller. It would sit and just lounge in the stroller. And I never thought anything of it. One day I come in the house and dog's in the stroller. I didn't think nothing of it. I go upstairs, I do my thing, I come down the next day, the dog's still in the stroller. So I'm walking around, I'm doing my thing, and the next day the dog's in the stroller. The dog was dead for a week before I realized, what the fuck? Because my mother was supposed to be bringing him out. She wasn't bringing him out. I said, you got to bring the dog out. She wasn't bringing the dog out. I said, you didn't bring the dog out? No, I didn't bring the dog out. So the dog is sitting there for a week. I said, you didn't bring the dog's sitting there for a whole week dead. I was like, holy fuck.
Wow.
I didn't, because I wasn't there. I would walk by and I'd see the dog, and I didn't realize, because from afar in a big house, from afar, I see the dog in the.
Yeah.
I didn't think to check because I think my mother's here. She's going to take care of the dog because of the. She didn't do anything, and the dog died and was there for a whole week. But I didn't do anything either.
You didn't notice the smell?
No, I didn't smell it. I lived in a Victorian mansion. It was like he was on the ground floor in the music room, way far away from everything. I had to come all the way downstairs because that's where the chair was. I was upstairs on the third floor. That's where my room was. You wouldn't believe the house I lived in. It was like I lived in a preserved house area. Like the house was like.
Yeah, I know those kind of things. Yeah.
Era, and the whole neighborhood was preserved, and the house was like there was 3 people. We were living. There was 20 rooms, and the ceilings was like 12-foot ceilings, and this house was like huge, and there's just 3 people living in this house. But I lived there, and it didn't cost me anything. It was friends of mine, because I lived there, and the crazy story, man. I can't believe that dog died, and I never even noticed it.
I don't see how that happened, but yeah.
I never even noticed it. Nobody noticed it. And of course it smelled. And it was stuck it was stuck inside the stroller. I buried it in the backyard with the stroller because I couldn't remove it. So I buried it, and it was raining the day I buried it.
Yeah. Let's try to move on to something else.
On a more
I went
pleasant
outside
note.
to bury it, and it was like so smelly. I had to put it in a bag. I put it in a bag, and it was like
move on.
Yeah, enough.
But that was once it was discovered.
Move on.
Move on.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's get a new subject here.
Sorry about that.
So what else have people had going on?
If you want, I can go back to plants.
Yeah, well, yeah, and as we're saying about cats being so aloof, I had Sammy climb up here and go to sleep on my leg.
Just
His biggest issue is that I'm not spending enough time with him.
Better spend some more time with them.
How about they're actually determinate and indeterminate in potatoes?
potatoes.
Yeah, you guys like potatoes, right?
Who doesn't?
Determinate potatoes grow on one level, so you can actually just grow them on one plane, fill it up with a little bit of dirt, put another of those potatoes on next plane, fill that up with dirt, and they'll just grow on that same plane. Well, indeterminates will be like your russet potatoes, and it'll just fill out the whole bag or whatever container you have in on multiple levels. So with the determinate, you really don't need to mound them up because you're not getting any more space for potatoes to grow.
Yeah.
I don't think most people know what mounding up means. When you grow potatoes of the indeterminate, they get these things that go down into the, I don't know the official word, down into the ground, and that's where the potato actually it comes off of. And if you mound up more dirt alongside of it, there will be more opportunity for producing fruit off the vine thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so you get more yield.
Yeah, it's a tuber. It basically creates the like part of the root. So yes, if you cover the stem up, the stem will produce more roots if it's covered up, and thus you'll get more potatoes. Same thing. You get similar situation with tomatoes. Because if you bury a tomato plant all the way down and cover the entire stem, you'll get more of a root system from the tomato.
But those aren't really like a rhizome, which will throw up some other plants down the line. It only grows the tubers, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
you might start getting more potato if you left it alone. But since we're eating it, well, I know you'll get more sweet potatoes that way.
Yeah.
Sweet potatoes.
What's your favorite white potato? I'll call them.
I usually just like the standard russet potatoes personally.
Yeah.
Mm.
The Yukon Golds, I think, have a nicer texture.
Yeah, I do like the Yukon Golds.
I like the little
the russet-
itty bitty undersized red skin potatoes.
Oh yeah, the little
yeah.
red ones are good too.
Yeah, the little fingerlings and things like that too are nice.
Yeah, they just charge way too much for those.
I've been wanting to grow some of these wild potatoes I found. There's this site that sells all these wild potatoes.
There's Micro.
Oh yeah, she said she responded.
All right, Micro.
Yeah, Micro Rapper, I just sent you a link on Discord if you want to come in here.
Nice.
Hey, Micro.
But we did testing on trying to grow potatoes in warmer climates. But the potatoes developed small. They found the best temperature was around 22 C or 72 Fahrenheit.
Fair
Any
enough.
Oh,
temperatures higher than that you'd get smaller potatoes.
That I didn't know. Is that true for any species?
They tested out on dozens of different varieties of potatoes, and they all turned out that way.
It's fairly
Well-
universal. That's interesting.
potato is a vine vegetable, right? It's vine. Grows on a vine.
No,
No, not
No.
really.
Oh,
it's an
because I'm
independent
thinking like you could use maybe like you know how they use like how they make wine and they grow like different grape fields of grapes and different people make different kinds of grapes. I was
Mhm.
thinking maybe you could use that same thing for potatoes, but I don't know. I'm not. You know.
No, the
I would
stuff that
figure that the potatoes would have the soil that they're grown in would have a great influence on their taste if there was, particular elements in the soil that it could change things. That's what's happening with grapes. Is the grapes are all the same, but
Uh-huh.
it's the mixture of the ground that makes the difference in taste of the grapes.
we do have different varieties of grapes to grow.
Well, yeah, there are, but still.
But is that does
if you
that
grow
hold?
two types of grapes or one type of grape in two different locations, half a mile from each other, it could be radically different.
Mhm.
But does that hold true for potatoes, or is that exclusive to grapes? I mean, I don't know.
Potatoes grow underground. As we were just saying, as Beck was just saying there, but they grow underground. You're not getting fruit on top of the
Oh, okay.
potato.
So it's a root vegetable.
Yeah, it's a root
Yeah.
vegetable.
Oh, okay. Right. All right.
And actually, you don't want to eat anything other than that tuber because that's poisonous.
Right. Yeah. That. I don't know.
Whereas sweet potatoes, you can actually eat the leaves.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Sweet potato is not really a potato.
Yeah, that's true. It's my brain's going blank on that one.
It's
What is
closer
it?
to squash.
Oh, it's close to the squat. Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
I thought
I guess that's just my own way of thinking of it. I don't think officially they are.
It's I think it's
didn't know that.
it's related to the yam. It's a
It's
yam.
Yeah.
Morning
Yeah.
Glory family.
Morning glory. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Very pretty flowers that those things produce.
Oh yeah, they do.
And morning glories have a lovely drug in them, very similar to LSD. that you can harvest the seeds. And well, never mind.
Okay,
Oh
taking
no,
note
no,
of
no,
this for
no.
my
We
sweet
need to
potato.
know. Our audience demands that they know.
Okay, you can extract the seeds from a morning glory plant, and I guess you have grind them into a poultice or something like that, and consume them, and they will make you hallucinate. But I would not recommend doing it because I don't know what the correct dosage is before it takes you over the edge. Generally,
Yeah, no, and this falls under the category of do
very
not take
toxic
anything on this channel as legal or medical advice.
hallucinogens. Many hallucinogens are just very toxic alkaloids, and you're taking a smaller
Yeah.
amount, so it doesn't kill you. It just makes your brain crazy, like
Well-
like the Turospermone.
Neurotoxins.
Yep,
Like
that's
Turospermone,
basically
that
yeah.
devil's apple. That's a big one with the belladonna alkaloids.
That's
which-
basically why something makes you hallucinate, is that it's a poison that kind of throws your body off of its normal functioning for a while.
Yeah, belladonna used to be used a lot in cold preparations because it's kind of alkaloid that will provide a drying agent, and help dry up mucous membranes and stuff like that, and reduce sniffles and things. But
Yeah,
you take
I've
many like I'm thinking Contact as the brand from way back when. You
Yeah,
take
who
three of
here's-
those and your
Who
history.
here's been puddled? We'll start there.
Not me.
Okay.
Ooh, tough
Okay.
crowd. All right, no. So you're talking about a quantity of liquid LSD, and you don't know this quantity. It's just a big puddle in your hand. I can imagine it's close to maybe about 20 mils.
Yeah.
20 mils, if that.
Several
average
dozen
dose of-
drops.
Your average dose of LSD is in the micrograms territory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
150 to 300 micrograms kind of area.
it is not a question of is this poisonous or is this toxic. It's a question just of what is the lethal dosage.
They used to use belladonna as a cosmetic for eyes. Like they thought, because apparently it's really good at dilating pupils.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
What about this?
There used to be a saying that went with the toxicity of that. It was something about oh God, your heart's as fast as a hair. Your mad as a wet hen, and your eyes are big as some other kind of poetic sort of thing that medical people would tell themselves to recognize the symptoms of a particular overdose.
Interesting.
But yeah, huge pupils with
Yeah, it's creepy.
Okay, what's this about the leaves from potatoes and sweet potatoes being toxic to dogs?
I don't know.
Mage, you don't know anything on that?
I imagine they could be. I suppose.
I hadn't heard that. Just wondering if that's a risk about your dog getting in the garden.
Well, Mage, weren't you just
typically eat
mentioning that potato plants can be toxic if you eat them? The
Yeah,
potatoes.
potatoes will be
Well,
toxic.
yeah, and we established that they are related to the nightshade family.
Well, maybe just potato leaves a bad taste in their mouth.
Shut up.
Yeah, but
Bad taste
One of
before
the mythologies about potatoes is when you get a potato chip and it's got that little piece of green at the edge.
Yeah.
But you're not going to die if you eat that. It does have a toxin in it, but it's so small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who else
It's
rips
the-
that little green piece off?
Okay. Looks like it's the vine of the sweet potato that can have a poisonous effect on dogs. It has a chemical in it. It has the characteristics to LSD.
No shit.
Of who? What was that?
Interesting.
Sweet potatoes.
Oh.
As the vines of the sweet potato can apparently be poisonous to dogs.
Interesting.
So do they trip out or just die?
Doesn't seem to say here.
There's a lot of plants that are really toxic to animals. What's that winter that Christmas plant?
Holly,
The poinsettia.
Yes, the poinsettia.
poinsettia.
They are leaves that are very toxic.
Yeah, I heard they were toxic to cats too.
Yeah, but I think poinsettias are not only toxic; they're toxic to a lot of things, aren't they?
I don't know for sure, but I suspect so. I think
Yeah,
that's-
you don't want to eat a poinsettia.
I mean, they look kind of dangerous if you look at what's in the wild, and you look at a poinsettia. I mean, I don't know how to say that, but that looks like a dangerous flower to me. I wouldn't fuck with a poinsettia.
Oh, it's not
Poinsettia.
gonna hurt you if you don't eat it. It's not gonna hurt you.
Not nearly as toxic
some
as
nasty
roses,
plants
though.
out there. There's
Toxic with roses.
um,
No, roses are edible.
I was speaking more romantically. Really, it's just the people, the toxicity level only is really affected by suckers. So, I mean, like, roses can be toxic.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, man.
let's see, what plant is it? No, not wild parsley. Wild. Oh shit! God, I hate getting old. It looks like
wild oregano.
It's lace, except the flower is a bright yellow, and there's much more of them at different heights, not just at the end of the branch, and they grow in huge clumps. They take over areas. I want to say it's wild garlic, or wild parsley. I'm just forgetting. I'm sorry. Don't ever try to knock those plants down and get the juice of the plant on you. You will be very, very sorry. It will burn your skin like a fire, and it will take weeks for the wound to heal over again.
Wow.
Don't get.
That sounds pleasant.
Isn't there that one tree in Florida that is just, I think it's like in the Guinness Book of World Records, that is just like the most dangerous like plant to humans. It's the sap drips on you. It will like eat through your skin. Like if you like touch any part of this tree, the seeds, the leaves, anything, and then like you rub your eyes, like you might die.
Oh, okay. It's wild parsnip you were thinking about.
Yes, thank you.
Parsnip is that much of a damn?
No, wild parsnip. It's
wild parsnip.
Like the edible parsnip.
Does it need like a set of beads and a six-pack? I mean,
Well, orchids
no,
can
it
also.
hangs out and stays up too late.
Yeah, there's a stuff in
got
orchid
you.
that can actually burn your skin as well. You have to be careful with that. When you vanilla actually comes from an orchid,
Yeah, it does.
but a lot of people who harvest them tend to get burned.
unless it
Hey,
says
is there
natural
anybody out
vanilla,
there-
then it comes from a beaver.
Is
Yeah.
anybody out there
Sure.
real good at cooking and can answer a cooking question? Since you bring up vanilla,
Maybe.
why is vanilla in virtually everything?
I thought that was cranberry. That was in everything.
No. Vanilla is added to like every cake on earth, every cookie, every biscuit. Because
Because it's
everywhere.
good.
Yeah.
You can hardly
It's
there
Ooh.
when it's in something. You put a teaspoon in and you got this, 2 quarts of dough. You're not going to taste 1 teaspoon of stuff.
It might
Actually, you
have to
will.
do with the alcohol content of most vanilla extracts. Might have something to do with the chemistry. That's always a big thing. Like adding like a splash of alcohol, it usually burns away, especially if you're cooking it or sautéing it. But the alcohol helps impart flavors or helps depart other flavors from one another. So that could be it. But other than that, vanilla is just a tasty sumbitch.
Okay, just looking at enhancing the flavor of the other ingredient in a Swedish dish. Vanilla also adds a spicy, delicate taste and packs a strong and enticing aroma. This is why, despite its expense, vanilla is widely popular among home cooks and professional pastry chefs alike. So apparently, it's an enhancer. It's an enhancer to other flavors. Apparently.
Interesting.
I
I
love
figured
chemistry.
it had to do something with taste or as you're saying, the chemical reaction. But I just never heard it. I've always wanted to write a letter to America's Test Kitchen and ask them to explain that. I still might. I heard once that a vanilla extract, the artificial vanilla extract, is one of the most perfect synthetic foods ever made. That it is virtually indistinguishable from natural vanilla.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I
pretty
can't
simple.
say I can argue with that. I mean, the vanilla
that and-
extract, like imitation
that-
vanilla, is
That
pretty
and
damn spot
artificial,
on.
lemon
Yeah.
flavoring does. Limonene is real simple, complex.
That was, from my understanding, it's the same chemical.
Well,
isn't
there
it?
are some people who claim they can taste the difference. I'm skeptical if anyone can tell the difference in a finished baked goods.
But can you tell the difference between real vanilla extract and Castoreum?
Castoreum,
Natural-
from like castor oil.
No, it's the chemical name for natural vanilla flavoring. It's an oil secreted by a sac by the beaver's anus.
Ew.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Hearing about this.
Anything that you've ever eaten that says natural vanilla flavoring came from a beaver's ass.
Also,
I
with
had
ra-
actually
Hooray,
heard-
food science.
I had actually heard that the artificial raspberry flavor was actually a chemical from a skunk's ass.
The red coloring on some candies is from ground up beetles. Oh, and
Oh yeah.
since we're on candy, the you know how the flavor of banana doesn't taste like banana?
Oh yeah, Big Mike or something.
Well, that's actually because it's based on an older variety of banana that's no longer the most common variety found. It's based on the Gros Michel.
Yeah, that's actually extinct.
No, it's not extinct. It's still around. It's just not very. It just almost got completely
I
wiped
thought
out.
Panama disease knocked that out back in like the 1930s,
Yeah,
and every
it got-
banana, like the Cavendish that we eat now, is like they're all clones.
Yeah, they are. The Cavendish actually could be facing the same problem, but the Gros Michel didn't go completely extinct. That they were wiped out to the point where you can't use them commercially.
If
That's
the
what I heard,
Cavendish
is that the
disappears, what the
Cavendish
hell are
is-
cartoon characters gonna slip on?
That the Cavendish is
Keeps
facing
me up at night.
a fungus going on, and that's starting to spread slowly. And at some point, all bananas are going to be impossible to get if they don't replace them with another species pretty soon.
Yep, because genetic diseases
I-
love cloned organisms.
Yeah. Well, the same thing.
IQ, I think
Idaho potato. That McDonald's buys so many Idaho potatoes but they want their own specific brand of potato grown for it. That those have spread to the entire Idaho potato market. And if there's ever a potato blight, like in Ireland, that we're going to devastate our potato population of Idaho potatoes, I should say. You know, little reds and stuff will still be around, Wisconsin russets and stuff.
They'll bring the potato back, kind of like Jurassic Park. You guys can take that how you want. Just go with that, because I mean that's just a great basis for just a ridiculous story.
I don't remember what it was. There was a sci-fi movie from the 60s. And like they had revived this guy from our time, like 200 years in the future. But they had like actors to play his parents, and they're trying to keep him isolated. So he thought he was still in the 1960s. Except one of the problems they had run into was potatoes were extinct. And that was going to give it all away because he couldn't understand why his mother wouldn't cook potatoes anymore.
Man, somebody's shit. We're all on Twitter. Like, how many other people are still stuck in the 60s? It's terrible.
It would not
but
work in the internet age, that's for sure.
yeah, you would notice really quick. Like if somebody really thought they were stuck in the 60s, you could see that would go south really
Well,
quick.
you know, and it just shows that technology went off in directions that Sci-fi in the 60s and 70s could have never predicted.
Pun partially intended with saying that would go south really quick.
If I went unconscious in the 60s, which is when I grew up, I think the first question I'd ask when I woke up is, did they get to the moon?
Yes.
So I got a good question. I had posed this. This is really more of a curiosity. Like I had this idea of like a manger scene, right? And it's the Avengers circled around a baby Jarvis, right? And I was wondering if that would piss off the Christians worse than the Marvel fans because of a lack of vision.
What's a Jarvis?
Okay,
Jarvis
see?
is Tony Stark's AI computer.
Well, to kind of, I guess, almost ruin the joke, but explain it. Vision, the character, is the embodiment of the corrupted program of Jarvis. When I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but Jarvis gets corrupted, and then he gets kind of brought back and stuck into the body with the Mind Stone, right? So that character is called Vision. But if you make like a little tiny thing, you can call him Baby Jarvis. But then the Marvel fans will start like standing on their keyboards because it's not really actually Jarvis, it's Vision. And I threw a pun in there. And also, I would just love to make like a little tiny like Avengers
I did see a
nativity scene. That would be
nativity scene
great.
last year that was made up of the Star Wars characters with the baby Yoda.
Fantastic.
We got an echo going somewhere.
Yeah, IQ, I think
It's
we might pick
probably
that
me.
up when you came in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely me. It's a cheap ass headset. I try to mute it whenever I'm not talking.
Yeah, okay, as long as you mute when you're not talking, so you're aware of it. That's one thing about my new headset that I like less than the old one, is that the mute button on it isn't quite as convenient.
Yeah, like I said, the light button should have been the mute button.
Yeah, they've got this huge button right in the middle that I never use for anything. And then the one that I have to use every 10 seconds is this tiny little slide switch on the side.
I think it's a riot. You know, talking about Marvel just now, I think it's a riot how like your serious Marvel junkies and your serious Star Wars junkies and Star Trek junkies, how none of them have a sense of humor. That even if you just have a little joke or something like that on their canon, they just are absolutely ballistic about it. You know, it's just,
the main point I was getting at with that is that blasphemy is a sneaky bitch, and it covers more than religion. And righteousness is a real slippery slope, and they kind of go hand in hand, and people don't realize how they're like being it's just terribly ironic how that, you know, somebody can complain about somebody's righteousness and then become righteous about something in turn.
I think some of the fan bases get awfully damn close to being religions in themselves. You know, that if you don't believe in the version of the canon that they believe in,
there is such a thing as Jediism.
Well, I think it all comes down to identity. And when people take on these things as part of their identity, they need to defend it, you know, to a point where it's ridiculous.
Ding, 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 ding. You win.
So.
Yep. I think.
Hey, did anybody watch the January 6th hearings today?
Not today.
Man, it was a fairly intense day.
Oh yeah.
What's the highlight?
The highlight was this lawyer who couldn't talk for shit. He would talk like, I believe that I told them that if they do this, then maybe they'll do that. Then I paused too much. You know, it was just painful to listen to. But his information was was very good, extremely indicting of the administration and things. It's there's the lawyer that Trump used to actually plan all the shit in the end, was interviewed, and he took the fifth 100 times.
Oh,
Damn.
And innocent people don't
That's
need to
crazy.
do that. It's
Yeah,
um,
it's like they're getting all these people in these committee hearings, and it's like they're trying to always top the record for who can take the fifth the most times.
well, I haven't heard a lot of the fifth. There hasn't been any of the fifth on any of these broadcast ones. These people are saying what's going on.
Well, yeah, when the cameras are on them, they have to be more careful about things too. But
Well, that's often been a tactic for someone to plead the fifth, even though they know they're not guilty. You know what I mean? That's also a tactic too. So it can be used on either side. So it's kind of like, I see what you're saying, though, Jen.
Yeah, I understand that. I was once on the witness stand for a labor relations issue, union busting, and they asked me a question that the union lawyer just did not want me to answer, even though he and I both knew the answer to that question was innocence and would disqualify the crap that the employer's lawyer was trying to put forward. But they just did not want me to answer, and they said no, do not answer it under any circumstance. And and I never understood why, but I guess they were afraid that within the answer that there could be more problems. The answer had to do with whether or not I was awake to get a phone call, and I wasn't, because I was so goddamn hungover from the heavy party night that we had before. And I guess that they were afraid that would enter into into the testimony, and then it could be negative for the results.
But like you said, for someone to use the fifth that many times is a telling of their testimony in its entirety, if that's what they want to do. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Is anyone paying attention to Herschel Walker?
No.
I
Yes,
can't get that much into
yes,
politics. Yeah.
yes. He's a scumbag. Okay, just saying.
Uh-huh. He's kind of out there. He's got some serious brain issues with his CTE, or apparent CTE.
Yeah, you guys, he's like evangelical, like on steroids, like terrible. You got to check him out. What Herschel Walker says. He used to be was an athlete. He was a running back. He was an athlete in the Olympics, and
Apparently has many secret children.
Yeah, they keep popping up every other day. There's an unknown child that shows up.
Nice.
Yeah. Just because, right?
Yeah. And apparently he has some issues with domestic violence too.
You don't say.
I'm going to de-emphasize that a little bit, because I don't remember the exact quotes and descriptions of the situation on that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
allegations. We don't know if there's evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not always just telling, but somebody who has multiple children across multiple different human beings, they're typically not too pleasant to be around for too long.
Yeah. And some of the quotes he makes just are these sentences that just make no sense whatsoever. That are just like, what? What are you saying? Nobody can understand what you mean.
I'm sure you get to a point where you're like, I could just make up any damn thing and people will listen to me.
Well, apparently he brags and seems to make things up that he was involved in this and that, and he never was. And so the people on Twitter have taken to harassing him and saying things like, well, I was with Herschel Walker last week, and we were discussing how he invented the laser. And stuff like, just the more and more outlandish they can get, the funnier it is.
Now they could have taken that a step farther. How could you not pass opportunity to mention the Jewish space lasers?
Oh, well, they're doing that with MTG.
Okay, I mean, as long as somebody's getting that one, because that's just too gold.
Well, wasn't MTG the one who started that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, saying it was the Jewish space lasers causing the California wildfires.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
you're right.
Lord.
Yeah. I think Telltale Atheist. I think
Yeah.
he did a thing on Herschel Walker.
Oh, I love Telltale.
Yeah, he's
Telltale's
great.
awesome.
He's great.
He puts out
Yeah,
good stuff.
He's awesome. Yeah. He did a
Consistent
thing
too,
on-
man. Like his content is always spot on. It's very researched. It's very to the point, and he gets it across. He's a great artist too. So I mean, how could he not explode?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, and he's not taking it from a philosophical position entirely, so it's kind of like it gets to the base level of everyone. I
Yeah,
think.
he's like, boom, here's the facts. Here's what's going on. Bam, bam, bam. Let me lay it out for you, and then just love it.
Well, and that it's very personal too. That he just went through a whole big conflict because one of his daughter's teachers was pushing religion in the guise of a sex ed class, and
Gotcha.
they were getting death threats and had to move out of town.
I gotta go. Good night.
Good night, brother.
Good night, Sam.
See you, Sam.
Good night,
Ciao,
Sam.
everyone.
Nothing says you're the religion of peace like forcing someone out under the threat of death.
Giving death threats to a child.
That takes a big person to do that.
There is a shocking number of new death threats and threats of violence against trans people that are happening now because of the right wing and their decision to start calling us groomers and pedophiles. There's lots of idiot right wingers that hear the words and automatically believe it, and so are threatening to kill trans people, to kill at school administrators if they let trans people anywhere near their kids. All these just terribly sick scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone in Lavender Lady's DM group, try and help me out with breaking down that video I posted, because that's apparently all the offensive sex grooming going on in our schools that this guy apparently found. I've only been able to get about 10 minutes in.
I didn't see the video yet, so.
I can only imagine. I heard some guy ranting the other day, like, "Oh, I heard they were putting tampons in the men's in the boys' restrooms. Where are they putting them, man?" I'm like, dude.
Well, actually, that's true.
No, they are. I'm like, but those aren't really for the ones that don't need them. Like that, nobody's. I'm sure somebody might be. I won't put it past them, but it's not really anybody's sticking them in their ass. There's transitioning from either side. So you have people who identify as male who just happen to still be menstruating. So
yeah,
they're not fully transitioned. So they're in the men's restroom and they need a fucking tampon. Give them a fucking tampon and just shut the fuck up. Like, it's just, can we just stop segregating them anyway? To begin with, can we just have the shitter? Like so many places that's been successful.
It was a way to blame trans people for a shortage. Because, of course, everything that goes wrong with the economy is the fault of trans people.
Well, I mean, if you have a tampon shortage, I mean, nothing's safe.
That has also started to become one of those things that people comment on with outrageously funny, impossible relationships with trans people who cause this and that.
Everybody's looking for a scapegoat to push whatever the hell they feel should be going on, and they're not taking into account that you're not the only fucking person on the planet.
These are defensive humor.
Oh, okay.
About the whole thing,
I get you.
Like the Ukrainian war is because of trans people caused that, and just
taking it to an extreme just because it's so ridiculous, making it ultra ridiculous just to highlight how ridiculous it was in the first place.
Unfortunately,
that's always good.
Yeah, I don't think you can really do that because with the extreme right wing, it never gets too ridiculous. I mean, they're all still blaming Biden for the high gas prices, and it's like, this isn't just the U.S., this is a worldwide problem, and Biden does not set the gas prices.
Yeah,
he sure as hell doesn't set the gas prices for all of Europe.
I've been showing people the current gas prices in Canada, and that kind of shuts them up once it clicks in their head that, oh, that's a different country, and Biden doesn't really have anything to do with that gas. Oh, it's higher than ours? I mean, if you do the math, like the gas that Neil's paying right now is like damn near $8 a gallon once you convert it. And it's like around 5 here.
Oh, yeah. There are countries in Europe that are paying twice what we are for gas.
Yeah, it's been like the equivalence of $7-8 in France for how long? Woe is me.
Oh.
Right.
I saw Professor Dave's video on gender. Yep, for the most part, he's good. Usually his stuff is very well researched. This, I thought he probably should have done a bit more research.
Dave, absolutely. I watched his thing twice, and he virtually nailed everything perfectly in his video, information-wise and explanation-wise, except trans in sports. He got lazy, and he just took the simple hate-based route about it and did not acknowledge any of the reality of HRT and how that changes people, and
that was the one that really stood out.
And adolescents and all this kind of stuff. He just completely muffed it. I wrote him an extensive letter, and I'm a little pissed at him because he would not respond to it. It was an extremely reasonable letter and filled with information, and he just ignored it. So
he released another video since then, and basically just in the introduction to the newer video, acknowledged having gotten a lot of comments, but really left it at that without responding to anything.
I'll have to check that out and watch it, because I like Professor Dave. He's brilliant.
It's possible he just didn't see your specific response.
I sent it as a DM.
So we did.
Those can easily get buried.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But they can even more easily get buried when you don't give a shit. So there's also that.
All right, everybody. I'm going to take this opportunity to go ahead to bed.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Purple. It's always an honor and a privilege.
Anytime.
Good night.
Good night, IQ. Nice to meet you, brother.
Likewise.
Mage.
Sing us a song, Purple.
You do not want me to sing.
Hey, before you go, too late.
No, Purple, you were there when I sang Whitney Houston for Doc Stream's fucking fundraiser. Don't give me any. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, if you want to go.
Dogs left the room.
If you want to go and look for it, in my channel, there is a clip from one of Diana's streams where I sung Tom Lear's Christmas Carol. And I keep using that to threaten people that if they don't donate to me on Patreon, I will do a musical.
I think I heard that.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
I've been practicing singing, but I'm not sure if I consider myself good.
I tried, I tried to make it as a singer, but I had to give up because of my throat. People kept threatening to cut it.
Yep.
Well, the people who consider themselves good, we have a word for that. It's called cocky. You just I can hit this tune. There's a few things that I can do, but it's really just like, you're always a work in progress, and there's always something that you can't do vocally. So
What did you sing of, Whitney?
what was that? I didn't hear you.
What song of Whitney's did you sing?
I Will Always Love You.
Okay.
Terribly, by the way, and it was almost intentional because it was supposed to be a spectacle. Seth, I totally pledged that I would sing this song if somebody donated $100, and Seth Andrews donated it because I emailed him, and I had to. So like I sang the whole fucking thing in its entirety, and it was like it was brutal, and it was hilarious, and it was a great time.
Okay, although just a few weeks ago, I was introduced to a YouTuber, Amber L. That if you go on her channel, I think they're all exclusively her own songs that she writes. So worth checking out.
Well, that list of links I put in the private chat there, it's some of my favorite gardening channels.
Ah. Well,
There's a few songs I sung on my TikTok. It's not my IQ, it's my Josh P 513 TikTok. It's where I started putting out a little bit of content on while I was doing my hiatus from moderating. I haven't touched it in like a year. It's about time to start getting back into that. That shit was fun.
So, I just caught before I joined. I hadn't seen Professor Dave's video, but I did hear that it caused a bit of there's some people who are not happy about it. But I mean, the bit he got wrong. I mean, you said about like trans women in sport. I mean, was it as bad as the one Rationality Rules did, or was it any or what? I mean, I haven't seen it, so I haven't quite understood what he said that really annoyed people, but.
Yeah, it was the trans in sports thing that got everybody up in arms.
I think a lot. There just seems to be a lot of people that don't, just commenting on that really have not done any research on it.
Yeah, his basic statement was, trans people have an advantage. They shouldn't be allowed to compete. I'm done.
Yeah, that was pretty much. He kept it down to like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was a big shitstorm.
I'm surprised at him to like put out anything that's like not well researched. I'm actually quite surprised that he would do that.
I'm not putting out a video on Twinkies without doing my fucking homework nowadays. I mean, especially something that's obviously a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
On Twinkies, you're going to do something on Twinkies, the sponge cake or the.
If you can't ramble on about it, there's a bunch of shit you don't know. That's just the way I look at it. There's a deeper story to everything, right?
And no, Twinkies do have a shelf life.
They do.
Both the sponge cake and the humans.
Although, unlike the sponge cake, the humans actually go bad faster if you seal them in plastic.
Oh, jeez.
Wait till we get to the cream filling puns.
Well, that's why they use the tampons to keep the cream filling in. I'm serious. That's one of the kinks of the whole thing.
Word. Purple's not going to sing us a song. I mean, even if it's like that one, like you're trying to do Bruno Mars, but it sounds like Mars Attacks. I mean, we're cool. I'm cool with that. You just got to try.
Yeah.
You just got to own it.
By the way, I was going to say what Jenny was saying earlier. I saw some of those Herschel Walker claims tweets the other day. Some of them were hilarious. They were really funny.
All right,
Yeah,
you guys
somebody
want
should do a compilation.
Oh, ow.
Well, I mean, they I mean, you know, it's all like the pictures of Herschel Walker landing on being on the first man on the moon, and you know, fighting in the Revolutionary War. It was so funny. It you know, I got a chuckle out of it. I did put in the chat earlier that I think Trump rubbed off on him when he played for Trump's failed football team. So.
Was he the Confederate soldier that shot the pterodactyl?
Probably. he could be if you write it down.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's better when you can tie a dozen different conspiracies together.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic.
I'm always amazed at how absolutely brilliantly funny the internet can be. Sometimes it's just there's so many bright, funny people out there, and what they come up with is just absolutely side ripping.
Like the old Fox News Facts hashtag going round. Some of them were brilliant.
Pardon my yawn.
Oh yeah, I got Forrest Volke. He's a decent guy. I'm subscribed to him. He does some good videos on evolution. There you go.
Not familiar with him.
I got Beck beating you by a hair on my screen. I'm just saying. With the link.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't know.
it's
Different
somebody
link.
I don't know, so I'll have to check it out later.
It does good work on science and mostly focused on evolution from what I've seen.
Well, you know, that's an area I watch a lot of stuff on. Evolution and paleontology.
Apparently, they found these graves. There's dozens of them from the Anglo-Saxon period in England, and they're saying that, you know, most of the time when you find graves, they may or may not have some kind of relic in them, and in this chain of graves that they found, virtually every one has all kinds of relics in it, and it's just this gigantic cache of new information and stuff that they found.
With this, I mean, I haven't sort of seen any of the latest things like the Saxon grave sites, but I mean, there's a famous site in England called Sutton Hoo, which was was quite clearly like a Saxon king buried there in a ship. It's quite a famous archaeological site. Somewhere I've actually never got the chance to go to yet, but it's one of those places I plan on visiting one day.
That's neat. And paleontology is just so cool.
Well, it's more, yeah.
Yep. I'd rather deal with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always used to think that I could find a dinosaur in my backyard.
Well, you can.
If you just
They're
dig
called-
deep enough.
We call them birds now.
Well, yeah.
That was in the 60s. We didn't call them birds then.
They hadn't evolved into birds yet. Okay, I am wondering, at what point can we just go back to calling them birds and stop calling them non-avian dinosaurs? You know, we don't call ourselves non-diapsid reptiles. We're mammals.
Well, we were never reptiles to begin with.
Your reptile was the wrong word there, but you know. You go back far enough, you know, we're all related to everything, basically. So what's wrong with there being a division between dinosaurs and birds? Because people know what you're talking about then. You know, they didn't stop being birds, did they?
No.
I think we should start calling chicken roast dinosaur.
I like that sound. I like that idea.
Oh, I think you could make a bit of money if you like selling, you know, fried dinosaur, couldn't you?
Dinosaur soup, dinosaur salad,
Yeah.
dinosaur sandwich. You know,
No, I have 3 pet dinosaurs.
Dinosaur soup for the soul?
There you go.
Yep.
Perp, I'm going to have to bail here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll wrap it up here. We've been going about 2.5 hours, and I did not go out and do my shopping today, so I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. So why don't we go around? Anybody have anything they want to plug before we go? Jenny, you're going to be making any appearances?
Well, tomorrow's Friday, isn't there? Some junk that happens. I don't remember.
I'm usually
not that I'm thinking of. I'm going to be at a small private pride celebration on Saturday, but we're not going to like broadcast it on the net or anything.
Okay, but still cool.
Yeah.
Mage, you got anything going on?
Actually, I was going to say, I saved this for last. It's the 811 site for learning about your ground. So if you want to dig for a garden, or if you're planting a tree, or really any kind of digging on your property, you want to go to that site. And from what I understand, it's free. You can check out which state, and they'll just find all the gas lines, anything underneath that you might run into that might cause a problem.
Yep, that's an important thing to know before you start any project that involves digging.
So there's the link in the chat there.
I think
also a good gardening resource, if somebody wants to start and doesn't know, check with your local universities. Because
yes,
I know, like the University of Minnesota, you can mail them a soil sample and they will send you back a complete analysis of, like all of the minerals and nutrients that are in your soil.
Yes, that's actually a really good idea to do, because then you know what you're lacking and what you need to amend.
Yep.
Instead of overdosing something.
Okay. Jeff, you got anything going on?
Yeah, I might be over the course of the weekend at some point. I might be doing a review of a debate that happened, or debate/discussion that happened several months ago. Mainly because I actually challenged one of this guy to debate me on the same issue, and he's basically too much of a bloody coward to do it. So I thought I'd just review the one he did with Jay several months ago, and I think Jay was playing very nicely with him, but I certainly wouldn't have been if this had ever happened. So I still get to rip this guy's arguments, or more to the point, lack of arguments, to shreds, and so. Which it's just something I've been wanting to do for a little while. So,
the other useful tactic, if you're trying to get something going with someone like that and they refuse to reply, just do a video debating an empty chair.
Well, it's a long story. He was but he's a disingenuous little git anyway. This guy, it's I'll mention him, Isaiah from RHE podcast. Yeah, you're a disingenuous little prick, Isaiah. I'm sorry, I am not apologizing for saying that. He won't debate me because I won't make a public apology for calling him that. And my response to that would be, if you don't want to be called a disingenuous little prick, don't be a disingenuous little prick. But it's a long story, because at one moment it was on, and then he's changing his mind, and then he's just clearly playing games. So I'm kind of done with him. So, but I'll still go and show how bad his argument is. So by just reviewing him trying to make that argument.
Yep. Okay, IQ.
Nope.
Nothing happening. Just gonna be randomly hanging out in side chats.
Well, this week, actually, I am going to construct. If I remember my light wall back here, I'm going to be constructing something like that for the Tang convention that they're having. For them to like raffle it off or something. Go towards, just whatever the hell's going on. Just to get involved, do something. I mean, what I'm making is going to be a lot bigger and better than this. Version 3.0 is always better than anything. But I guess that's what I'm doing this week.
Is your channel like atheist stuff?
Actually, no. I don't really argue much atheist stuff. My MO is behavior. I just don't be a dick, and I keep people from being dicks, and I keep people from hating themselves, and I keep people from hating other people by keeping them from hating themselves. And I get into like introspection and stuff like that instead of arguing with living people about what death is like.
Well, I tell you, have me on sometime. I can be the example of what not to be.
Well, I'll be having a show starting up here on YouTube. My Josh P513. If you want to check out some of my like content that I put out, a few videos. But I'm going to be starting up a YouTube channel here. Actually, me and my newly acclaimed girlfriend gonna go by the call letters EQ, which that's exciting. She has a degree in criminology and adolescent behavioral analysis, so she's just brilliant, and we go pretty damn well together. So we're gonna be attacking people's behavior, and nobody's really safe from that, because everybody can be a dick, and I really appreciate it when I'm a dick and somebody points it out. Like, you never like that at the time, but you always gotta appreciate that, because that's how we grow, And a lot of people need that right now. So that's my focus.
Interesting concept. What's the channel official name?
It's gonna be on just my usual inquisitive quandary, whatever pops up when I'm in the chat.
Okay.
Actually, I can just toss something.
I guess the lesson here
there's
is
atheist content on there right now. but I really need to work on. I need to work on a lot of shit. But I've had a really bad year. It doesn't really even begin to. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm busting loose, and there's a lot of shit that needs to be talked about, and there's a lot of like really bad behavior that needs to be pointed out to people. And
Yeah.
while everybody else is arguing with what they do, keep doing that, because we're all going in the direction that we need to. And you see a hole in the canopy and you go to fill it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I do agree with what Mark's just said. Yes, certain people are deserving of of it. Yeah.
Well, I go
I
with
agree.
what IQ said, that everyone's a dick once in a while. Just don't abuse the privilege.
Some people are a bucket
Yeah.
for being dick, and they just deserve that much of it.
Nothing wises somebody up like pain. Actually, nothing can, because pain is wisdom, and vice versa. What do you do if you want to know if you're dreaming? You pinch yourself, right? Your pain is so linked to your reality.
Right.
And it's not just that feeling of pain. It's the internal pain. It's your mental scars. It's your emotional scars. And it's that the emotional intelligence is just not taught in our society correctly. People don't understand the term emotionally exhausted. They just think that when they go through a breakup or they've had a stressful day, like, I'm just emotionally exhausted. No, emotional exhaustion can cut way deeper than you think into your physical health, into your psychological health. And it's a silent killer. And it can affect everything else that you do, including
I'm very
how
familiar
you
with this.
treat other people.
I think that as soon as people hear that something's entering into a discussion of emotions, they immediately turn off. They immediately poo-poo whatever's going to happen, and marginalize it based on if you're emotional, you're a wimp, you're a pussy, you're a woman, and
That's the type of bullshit that I plan on changing.
Yeah.
It's emotions are so important to everybody.
Yeah, it is
Part of
something
the
our
human
society needs to work on a lot. That being emotional is not a weakness; it's healthy.
I could even go as far as to state that a lot of the phenomena that people experience and base a lot of spirituality off of is purely emotional, and it's misunderstood, and it's misdiagnosed, I guess, if that's kind of close enough to a word, as spirituality, when it is just part of the human equation, part of the bridge between your emotions and your intellect. When the bridge between those two things, I'm getting a little deep there, but it's there's a quantifiable scientific explanation to bridge this stuff and put a final explanation to a lot of this woo shit that has just been called something stupid.
This is a great subject that we could go on for some time, but I was trying to close down here, so it's not the time.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I was trying to go anyway, so we're golden. Perps, thanks for having me, everybody.
Yep. So
nice
with that, I would just like to thank my supporters, Ox and Robert X being my main moderators and keeping things under control in the side chat, and also both of them being Patreon subscribers, as well as Skitscat, Jyuni the Apostate, Mark Caesar, the Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog. I appreciate the help from all of you, and we will see you all next week.
I'll be here.
Bye-bye all.
Bye.